Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. You dropped in at the spot, your favorite podcast on the planet, the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Today we're going to Canada, one of my favorite places on the planet. We're going to visit with Angie Inglis. Angie wears many hats, and she teaches us a language, a code. All of us have a code. She works with the emotion code and the body code. She's a practitioner. She also has some psychic abilities. We're going to talk to her about that. She's a Reiki Master and a yoga teacher and a great mom. We want to welcome her to the show. How you doing, Angie?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, April.
Absolutely. So what's going on there in Canada today? How's the weather?
It was a beautiful week, but it's turned quite cool today. So
Really?
it's a little
Well,
cool.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it is hot as all get out here in California.
Mm.
106.
Oh wow.
I
That
know.
is, yeah.
And
That's a heat
people say
wave.
there's no such thing as global warming. I don't believe
Mm.
that. I don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
tell us a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
Well, yeah, so I'm from Guelph, Ontario, Canada, which is about an hour west of Toronto. I've been here for about 25 years. Um, I grew up partly in the city of Toronto, and then when I was 10, we moved to like a farm. So I kind of had the best of both worlds, city life, country life. And I was really glad to have my formative years in a country, like in a rural small town high school. Um, Went to university in the same town I live in now. I did leave for a few years traveling, and I knew I would come back here to settle. It just felt like the right place for me. And I live here with my husband, and now we were down to one child at home, our 15-year-old son, and we have three dogs. And yeah, and life is good. Life is
Well,
good.
I'm so glad that you are
Mhm.
living that quality of life. Everybody's not able.
Yeah.
Everybody's not fortunate.
Yeah.
A lot of people are stressed out right now. They are
Yeah.
losing their identity. Here in the United States, we just done lost our cotton picking minds. Just from the political spectrum to, gun shootings in school. But I
Mm,
don't think people have ever really thawed out after COVID because COVID
no.
was worldwide.
Hmm.
What kind of things did you find that awakened your senses during that period of time?
That was a total life transformation for me. Just prior to COVID, was in January of 2020 is when I found the emotion code. And I had won a free session with a practitioner, and I won the book behind me.
Mm.
And so I started to delve into it and started to come to more emotional healing. And that first lockdown, I know it was really difficult for a lot of people. Um, but it was like the first time in my life that I actually feel like I totally relaxed and felt safe. Like I didn't have to go out in the world. I didn't have to put on this persona or this brave face, or, I just felt so safe cocooning at home. And it was just a real reprieve for me. Um, and it was when I kind of, the whole path of my life changed direction with, with my career path and just my whole path in life, really, is when I
Yeah.
really dove into my emotional healing. Yeah.
Well, you were already preparing for that because you're a yoga teacher. And
Yeah.
yoga, people don't realize, but yoga is preparing the body for meditation.
Yeah.
So you already had that connection with source energy. You already had that connection with breath and also how to manipulate the body to relax, to come to a neutral state.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. Explain to us what is the emotion code and being a body code practitioner.
So, we have are you familiar with the conscious and the subconscious mind?
All day long. I do the subconscious probably more than I do the
Yeah,
conscious.
right. Yeah, same, right? Because really the subconscious mind is running the show. So, um, when we can work on both of them together, which is what the emotion code gets at your subconscious mind. So when we have these emotions that we can't process or we have trauma, the emotions get trapped. They get trapped in our body. Our body is an electromagnetic field. We're a field of energy, and everything has a frequency. Emotions, thoughts, beliefs, feelings. They all have their own frequency. And when we don't fully feel our feelings, and this usually starts in childhood, your parents say, "Oh, stop crying, or I'll give you something to cry about," or you're having a temper tantrum and they put you in your room, something like that. And it gives you the message, you form the belief that I'm not allowed to express my feelings. I can't get these feelings out of my body. And we just start to shut them down. And then never mind that, but then, if you have trauma on top of that, right? So trapped emotion will sit like a little ball of energy, and it can sit anywhere in your body, and it will disrupt the flow of energy. And
Hmm.
then it can lead to things like depression, anxiety, physical pain, illness, spiritual issues as well, feeling disconnected from yourself, disconnected from source. And so, what the emotion code does is through muscle testing, which is applied kinesiology, which is in truth, our muscles are strong, and in untruth, our muscles weaken. So, through muscle testing, we can communicate with the subconscious mind and release these trapped emotions. And when we release these trapped emotions, then our energy can start to flow in our body, and our body can do what it's meant to do, which is heal itself. Our body has its own innate intelligence, and it knows how to heal itself.
Well, that's one heck of an explanation. And I appreciate that because I have seen it and felt it so many times. Uh, where you will have something that is in your subconscious mind and it turns into a cold, a flu. Sometimes
Yeah,
people have such trapped emotions that it can turn into cancer,
yep,
failed kidney.
yep,
They have now, I saw a news article where people go to the hospital thinking they're having a heart attack, but it's
yeah,
due to a broken heart.
yeah, yeah,
They have the same
yeah,
symptoms.
yeah.
So when you find someone that's in this state of flux, what are some of the things that you do to help them recover or be able to come to grips with what's going on with them?
Yeah, so, I like to get a bit of a backstory. Usually ask a little bit about, what was your childhood like? Because, what we watched in our parents, it imprints on us, right? And like what was role modeled to us as children, it's imprinted in our blood, in our body, and in our energy
Epigenetics.
field. Yeah, and
Epigenetics.
we just act it out, whether you're conscious of it or not, right? So I like to get a bit of a backstory also, but sometimes that stuff comes through intuitively also.
Mm.
But so, when we release these trapped emotions, people start to feel lighter, and then they start to see the world in a different way, or they start to feel more hopeful and or just feel better about themselves. They feel more worthy of healing, or more worthy of finding the right mate, or the triggers are gone. Like for me, that's been one of the most amazing things. After doing this work, you're just something that normally would have really triggered you, or like, like it's just is gone. And you feel more neutral and just more inner peace.
They've got that culpability.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's hard to find that. I shouldn't say that. I don't find it difficult to find peace.
Yeah.
I have to change the NLP, the neuro linguistic programming, because I talk to
Absolutely.
Me and my daughter were talking about that yesterday. She said, "Do you have a conversation with yourself?" I said, "Yes, on both sides, pros and cons." I talk to
Yeah.
myself, answer myself, because sometimes I'm the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
But it gives me an out because I'm the only person in the room, but it gives me the tools to be able to see the pros and cons, to feel the ebbs and flows, but also question myself. Is this a judgment? Is this based upon
Mm-hmm.
fact? Is this based upon outside influences? Is this based upon, again, epigenetics, something that's been passed down from generations to generations? I'm studying nutrition now. First thing I automatically assumed, like everybody else, is it was food. But it's not about the food.
Mm,
It's
no.
about how the food works in the body down to
Yes.
the cell level, to the
Yes.
energy level, as to what you said. So that's
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
How does your psychic ability pour into all of this? And when did you realize that you had psychic abilities?
Um, it was funny as a child. I would have this like heightened sense of consciousness. It would just come in like a wave. And it was like I would suddenly separate from my body and I would
Mm,
be like, who am I? Like, why am I here? Like, basically, I was aware that I was aware, you know? Um, and I used to wonder, like, maybe we're just brains in jars watching this whole experience, you know?
mm-hmm.
Um, so I had that heightened kind of awareness. And then I remember at 9 years old seeing this movie where the woman could heal with her hands. And I remember thinking, I can do that. I know how to do that.
Wow.
And but then life went on and I just, became a normal teenager and all of that and went about my life and
You became a
um
normal teenager? That's a whole nother
yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, and then in 2015 I don't know if do you want me to go on my story now or just stick to the
Oh, tell
intuitive
us,
stuff.
we're captivated. We want to know what's
Okay.
going on.
Okay. Well, just I'll answer that question first. But intuitively, so when I'm working with someone, I might get a sense, I might see a visual image, or I might hear. I'm clairaudient, so I hear, and I trust what I hear. Like that's what really helped me develop on my intuitive abilities, but is by trusting it. And we all have this ability, but we just usually ignore it, right? But it helps me in my sessions because I can maybe see blinders, things that are blinders to my clients, you
Mm,
know. I might get a glimpse of something that happened to them in childhood, or very gently I might ask, is there some sexual trauma there? Like something like that. Is there some kind of trauma? I get hits of that, or how they were treated as a child or humiliated. And sometimes my clients will say, how did you know that?
mm, mhm. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay. Well, I was raised in a very spiritual upbringing. It was alternative medicine, it was naturopaths, homeopaths. There was never a bottle of Tylenol, and my parents never kept a bottle of Tylenol, so it was very alternative. So I was just always open to those kinds of things. I was raised Buddhist. My parents both went to the Toronto Zen Center. And so I did start meditating at a very young age at 15. And I used to go to, 7 day silent meditation retreats. And I think that also helped really propel me on my spiritual path.
Wait, wait,
Um,
wait, wait. Let me stop you right there. 7 day silent retreat. You wouldn't talk for 7 days?
no.
Wow.
And
Did
you're
they snow on
meditating. Yeah. Yeah.
the road? Wow.
Yeah. And you're meditating about 13 hours a day. Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Well, no,
But
that's it.
April, when you finish, your mind is so just calm and quiet and at peace, like that chattery little voice, like it's not there. But then transitioning back to normal life it can be challenging too, coming back into the real world, right? Um, but it wasn't all, rosy, spiritual, happy. Like I had, I've had three dads, one, my biological dad abandoned me, another stepdad that I adored that I was separated from, and then a stepdad, another stepdad. I had sexual trauma in there, so it wasn't all rosy.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyways, in 2015, I was hit by a car as a pedestrian.
Mm.
Yeah, right in front of my house. I was walking the dog. My wrist was shattered, and I had to have surgery. And it was just a very physically painful recovery. And it was the first time in my life I gave myself permission to just feel, like, because it physically hurt to move, like to walk, and it was, yeah, it was very painful. So I just gave myself permission to sit in my discomfort. And my mantra became nowhere to go, nothing to do. Like just be, like be with yourself, be with the uncomfortability. Yeah. And then I started to see a therapist, a talk therapist, who luckily was very spiritual also. But through that, I really became aware of how low my self-worth was.
Mm.
And yeah, and I really wanted to heal that. And just all the other things I'd been suppressing my whole life. I really didn't know how to express my feelings, and to be honest with myself and with in my relationship. So from there, I was guided to Reiki, and Reiki really helped me develop my intuition because, information would come through and the client would tell me, like, yeah, they would confirm that it was true. So I really started to trust my intuition. I'm like, I'm just going to start to listen to all of my guidance. And and I came to a prayer because I was at a crossroads. I was teaching at the time. I was substitute teaching, and it just was not fulfilling anymore. And I just kept praying, show me my path using my gifts and talents. And as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, January 2020, that guidance came, and it was Google muscle testing. And I did. And there was Dr. Bradley Nelson, who wrote the book and created the emotion code. And he was releasing somebody's heart wall. And I was like, it was like fireworks. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? I know I have a heart wall. I know it's blocking me. I have to find one of these people. And 2 weeks later, somebody tagged me in an Instagram contest and for emotion code practitioner for a session. And
Oh,
yeah, and of course I won. And I won the book, that book. And yeah, she released my heart wall, and I cried my eyes out for about 15 minutes afterwards. It was just like this weight had been lifted off of me. And the things just started unfolding. And I decided I wanted to get certified. I wanted to try this. And then from there, I went to the body code and just started, we had to do case studies. I did a lot of case studies and then started just doing by donation. And yeah, just everything. I started to feel better. But also at the same time, I found a trauma that was very deeply repressed. It was a sexual trauma from childhood that I was not in my conscious memory.
mm.
So that woke up. So that was very painful. That was, that took me down. I was in my room for about a week crying because it was like it was like it had just happened. Like my body went into shock. Yeah. And yeah, so I had to process all that, work through that. But I was finally in a place in my life where I had the tools to deal with it. And um, I had the security and the safety of my home and the support of my family to finally to work through it, right?
Right, right, right.
Yeah. And now, now it's become a gift, turn your mess into your message, right? And so now it's become such a gift because I can help other people through it,
Right.
yeah, I know how to heal it and I can help other people heal it. And yeah, so from there, I've just gone on to do many other certifications. I also do emotion code, body code. I did also Site K, which is the reprogramming of subconscious beliefs, where
Oh,
we do
wow.
yeah, we do a whole brain posture where the right and left hemisphere of your brain can fully communicate, which is the optimal time to install new beliefs. That's a great one. Sacred activations. And I say light codes, I say money light codes, which has really helped because you know, everybody has money issues. Doesn't matter if you're a billionaire, like you have beliefs about money, right? And and they can block you from your abundance, like rich people are jerks. or, stuff like that, right? Or money's not meant for me, or
I saw the cutest little post on Facebook today. It says, "I was born to be a millionaire. I know that because it's how I spend money."
yeah.
But
Yeah,
money is energy, and people don't realize that it must
absolutely.
remain fluid. It has
Yes,
no more value on it than what we
yes,
place.
yes.
We see a $5 bill, we see a $10 bill, and we equate that with a value.
Right. And money, like
And
money's neutral. We assign the meaning. And I grew up, April, I hated money because my biological dad that abandoned was because he was a drug smuggler, and
wow.
he was making so much money. And my mom said, no, you cannot be a criminal and have a baby with me. And he wouldn't stop because he was making millions of dollars. And I made the meaning that, it was money that took him away.
Right.
And yeah, and therefore I hated money. So, that's I've been healing my money stuff, my money issues, right?
It's the
And
behaviors around money and what
yeah,
you do with that money. If
yeah.
you never pay it forward, if you just uh it's like my mother made money seem like it grew on trees.
Mm,
It was always there. My father, he could put his hand in his pocket and feel whose face was on each dollar bill. He was
mm,
that tight. So there was a mixed message there. So
yeah.
at a time, I found myself in a bit of a kerfuffle because I was on that, on that mama thing.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go and let's get 5 pairs of shoes. You don't just need one. Let's get 5 pairs and this, that, and the other. And that wasn't it. But when I wrote myself a letter and I
Mm,
addressed it to my money, I had a really deep conversation with it. It was very revealing.
mm,
And I put all these things and all these parameters. Also, I was able to set some boundaries because money wrote me back and said,
mm.
this is what I'm nothing but a receipt. I'm a vehicle of exchange. The Chinese uh, invented me centuries ago because they couldn't necessarily get the cattle over at that time. So they gave me this bill as a receipt.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
we
now
made
we
it up,
turned it in
right?
currency. It's
Yeah.
made up and it's
Yeah.
still made up.
Yeah.
It's still made up. In your mind,
Yeah.
if you say that you are a billionaire, you can truly be a billionaire.
Yeah.
What does a billionaire have or want? Sometimes they're the loneliest people on the planet
Yeah. There's that
because
too, right?
they're not firing the emotion code, and
Yeah.
they're trapped in this body of emotion that is just downtrodden. They can't.
Yeah.
Nothing makes them happy. You
Yeah.
know what's the next new shiny object? So you have children and you're married, and I know that your children, sit back and again, you're very progressive, you're very, spiritual, you're pretty hip, you live in Canada, you know. But what do your kids think about the work that you do? Because it's a different world now. I think millennials and uh,
Mm,
Gen G and Alpha is coming up.
yeah.
They're looking at us and saying, you know what, you guys got it wrong. We're doing something
Mm,
else.
yeah.
What is the conversation that you're having with your kids?
Yeah. So my son is 21. So when I came to this work, he was about 16 or 17. And he was open to me working on him. And then when he turned 18, he gave me blanket permission to work on him. But I don't really work on him unless he asks. He is open to it, and he does ask me from time to time, if he has a physical symptom or something. And my daughter is 18, and she is very open to it. And she'll say, Mom, can you clear for me? And she does have a weekly session. I have a friend that does um, sessions on my daughter and my youngest son every week. Um, my younger son, he'll be like, "Oh, are you?" Because I muscle test with my hands, right? And he'll be like, "Oh, do you have to check with your hands?" He'll say stuff like that.
He's a little snarky.
A little bit. And,
All right.
it got to the point, it was another healer. She said, you need to ask him for permission. And it's like, I've heard different schools of thoughts, right? Like Dr. Brad says under 18, the mom can make the decision. Another training I just did, Healing Remembered, she says 13, you're pretty sovereign. So I did ask, he's not 15 now, but I asked for permission, like, can I release your trapped emotions? And he was like, well, I guess so. And yeah, so
But it's a belief system and it's what you grow up with. So,
right.
you grew up with very progressive, again, forward thinking,
Yeah,
spiritual parents, even though you had some, some mishaps and some trauma there.
yeah,
Now they're seeing this from their parents. And so they're trying to figure out their own course of action. I look around now and, everyone doesn't have a religious doctrine or a spiritual doctrine.
yeah,
But after COVID, what I really noticed is that people are separated from what I call Gus,
yeah,
God, universe, and spirit.
yeah,
They're thinking that this meat suit is the end all be all, but
right.
it's not. This
Yeah,
is not it, brains. I'm telling you, this is
yeah,
the only thing that houses us. You
yeah.
know, your ego is the gateway to your soul, and your
Mm,
soul is searching for joy.
yes, it
And
is.
if you don't have hope and a belief that there is something bigger and greater and more divine, you're
Mm,
miss you're missing it. We
yeah,
all have a soul contract that we
yeah.
signed up for, and we've got to complete that. And that was hard for me to process until I had another amazing guest like you on my show. She works with the families after these mass shootings here
Mm,
in the United States. And I was like, wow, but she said something to me that was so profound because, again, she studied human design and the motion code and the Akashic records. I mean, she was so
mm-hmm.
heavy, she needed a crane. And she said that we all signed up before we came
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
We all have, do you know the assignment? That's the big buzz uh, conversation here now. Do you know your assignment? And
yeah,
we all signed up for it. And unfortunately, some people's assignment was to be here for 7 years. Some people were to be,
yeah,
a testament. Some people were to be 100 years old. Some people were to
yeah,
be amputees or Olympic athletes. You signed up for these things, so you have to go through that. So what we have to do is we have to learn to process it. And
yeah.
again, it's very difficult, but we can't take it personal because it's not our journey.
Right, right.
So when you deal with individuals that go through these metamorphoses of change and they greet themselves on the other side, that's a lot of heavy lifting too, because again, like the silent retreat, you got to put this back into what we consider a normal, but this is your new normal.
Right.
What do you say to a person that's made this big adjustment? Because it's a lot.
Well, I really try to remind my clients, and I'm going to remind all the brains right now that, it's our thoughts that create our suffering. It's,
Mm,
what happens, it just is. We're the ones that assign the meaning. We're the ones that create our own emotional suffering. And we do that through our thoughts. Just, as you were saying, we sign up for this. I just told a friend yesterday who has a special needs daughter. I did a session on her and all this self-recrimination was coming up. And I'm just like, you're beating yourself up for the way your daughter is. And you can't change it. Like, and it's not your fault. Like, both of you signed up to be her mother. She picked you to be her mother. Like, this was meant to be. Your soul signed up for it. Like, forgive yourself. Stop beating
tell her,
yourself
tell
up.
her,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
tell her.
Yeah.
And that is it. It'll kick in the next day or two.
Yeah.
Probably just
I
kicked
hope
in just
so.
now as we talked about. It will, because the daughter has special needs, but she has other gifts and talents.
Right.
And her mother has a testimony
Yeah.
on how she is able to deal with this, grow with this, learn with this, support it, and
Yeah.
support others,
Absolutely.
you
Mm,
know? So sometimes it's a gift not tied in a beautiful box with a ribbon around it.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
we don't see that. She'll see it as her daughter, gets older, or one day her daughter will turn to her and tell her how much she appreciates her and
Yeah.
loves her. It'll kick in, and when you least expect it. So let's ask some fun questions about you, Angie. This is one of my favorite things.
Mhm.
If you were not doing the world of, and I say this with love, hoo hoo, woo woo, what would you be doing?
Hmm. I would be, well, I could answer a couple of things. If my teaching career it never took off, but now I know why, because I was meant for something else. But I would have loved to be high school English and drama teacher.
Hmm.
And or the other thing, I really would have loved to work with horses.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Horses are
So and
very
that
intuitive and very, very spiritual. They speak a different language as well.
yes, yeah, I did have a horse growing up when we moved to the country. I did get a horse. It didn't work out very well. Um, but now I did take riding lessons for a while because I needed to come back to horses. And that was getting a little costly, and the horse I was riding got injured. So I ended up getting a job at a horse barn,
Hmm.
and it's like 3 minutes from my house. And, now I go there 3 or 4 days a week just for about an hour in the afternoon. I help bring the horses in and I feed them, make their feed for the morning, and take some of them outside. Some of them spend the night outside. So it definitely, if I wasn't doing this, I would want to be doing something with horses. And that is actually my dream, is to have a horse farm where I just have about maybe 5 horses and people come to the farm for healing, to be in nature and to
Very
have
cute.
healing. Yeah.
And you have that intuitive way of speaking to them. So I'm sure that there's a lot of insight. Girl,
I
did I tell
I
you my
I can
horse
hear
story?
them asking for they I hear them asking me for help. Yeah, the horses.
Did I tell you my horse story? I'm here and I go with my friends and they say, well, let's go horseback riding. I got on this horse. She
Mm.
ran away with me, Angie.
Oh no.
And I'm holding on the reins. And I'm telling you, I'm holding on for dear life. They are big, they are powerful, but I just let her be in control. And the whole time I'm just praying, will you please stop? Will you please stop? Once she stopped, I got down. I gave her a couple carrots and some sugar cubes, and I walked her back. And I have been intimidated by
Mm,
horses ever since. Till I went,
mm,
a girlfriend of mine has a horse, beautiful horse. And so she says, okay, well, just be gentle with her. Just start by brushing her.
mm-hmm.
I wasn't standing near those back legs, but in the front. But there was something about the communication in the eyes,
Yeah.
the way that she looked, the way that she felt. And then when we got to, and I talked to the horse and I told her my intimidation, and she just kind of nudged me. It's like,
Mm,
okay, well, I'm not that horse and this is not that experience and you're going to be all right. And I feel much better.
yeah.
I feel much better. If you were an appliance in the kitchen, of all places, what appliance would you be?
Wow. Um, I would have to say a Vitamix because I love my Vitamix. Um, and it just blends everything together so beautifully. And it ends up smooth and like in the flow.
And it can be hot or it can be cold. Vitamix is as far as the
Exactly.
distance.
Yes.
And it lasts forever.
Yes. Yeah,
It may
mine's
last,
going on 12 years old now. So
may last. If you could
yeah.
time travel, with all the experience that you have and all of the teaching and the training, if you could go back to the past, remain here in the present, or project to the future, where would you land?
I would really love to see the pyramids being built. I would go back to that because I find that so fascinating. There's so many theories on the pyramids, and it's such a powerful place on Earth, you know? Um, I think that would be really interesting.
You know what? No one can really explain it. They did
No.
geometry and mathematics and moved those stones
Well,
without
how
the
are they
things
that
that we
shape?
know.
How,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the
How
whole
they
ramp
face
mess,
both
the
sides.
whole ramp, the slaves with the ramps, like that's all been debunked and that's, yeah. And they say they're way older than 2,500 years. And yeah. So
It's
whenever it
amazing.
was that they were put there, I would like to go see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were a car, what kind of car would you be?
Mm. Um, well, I always dream of having an Audi, but now that you ask, I'm hearing like a Porsche is coming to mind. I think
Oh, so you
that would
like
be,
it fast and
yeah,
so okay.
sporty, fast.
That's
Yeah,
pretty good. That's pretty good.
yeah.
If you could have a conversation with a 25-year-old Angie Inglis, what would you
Mm,
say to
be confident, be brave, don't hide your true self. You are worthy, you are deserving of all the things that you want. Um, don't waste time on things that don't bring you joy. Don't chase a career that isn't meant to be. Yeah,
her?
and if something doesn't feel right, like don't do it. And be honest. Like have open, honest communication, you know, without the fear of somebody exploding at you, you know. And travel, travel. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love to travel. What's left on your life list? Give me one thing that you want to tick off your life list.
I really want to travel to Europe. I have not been to Europe yet, so I would really love to do that. I've lived in Australia, I've lived in Japan, and I've lived in northern Canada in a fly-in Ojibwe, which is an indigenous native Canadian community. I taught third grade there. Um, so yeah, I've had lots of great experiences, but yeah, I'd really like to go to Europe.
That Europe, we're going back next year. That Europe is it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, my 21-year-old who's just flew home from Portugal today. He was there for almost 2 weeks.
I heard
So
that's the end spot too. My brother just went to
yeah,
Portugal,
it
Spain
looked
and Portugal.
beautiful.
I went to Italy, I went to France. Um, but it's something about Rome and Pompeii and just, again, there's
Yes,
history and we don't
yes,
appreciate that the Western world like they do there and how they
right,
preserve it. And there's an
right.
energy there and you feel like you have traveled through time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
Be remembered for helping people transform their lives and helping people live their best lives. And I want my children to know that I lived my best life.
And that's important. Tell my brains how to
Yeah.
get in contact with you, how to work with you, and how they can get their muscles tested to increase their emotion code and relax that body code.
Yeah, so I have two of my own modalities that I created. One is quantum love codes, which helps reprogram all levels of your consciousness, your cells, your DNA. So, for example, quantum love code one is, we release I'm not lovable, which most people have that on some level of their consciousness. So we release that and install I am lovable. And then I have quantum health codes, which covers all forms of health. Like, a lot of people feel like they don't deserve to be healthy, or that, well, cancer runs in my family, so I'm going to get cancer too. Those are all beliefs that can be changed. So I run webinars, which is like a group healing, and I do it on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where in the world you are. And I'm just working on some webinars right now where my topics are going to be self-worth, self-respect, all that kind of, self-love, that kind of stuff. And so you can find my upcoming offerings by getting on my email list. So you can go to my website, which is modernhearthealing.ca, modernhearthealing.ca.
Okay.
And yeah,
We're going to definitely put that at the back of the interview. We're going to run this interview over and over again because we want you to live your best life, Brains. We love you. We care
yes,
about you.
yes,
She could be doing anything. She could be running a
yes.
horse farm. She could be traveling to Europe. She could be a stay at home mom. There's a
Yeah,
lot of other things that she could do outside of dedicating her life, her energy, her spirit, and her psychic
yeah,
ability to helping
yeah,
other people. So
yeah.
allow her to pour into you. Go in, do the consultation, give her a call, follow
Yeah.
her,
And
and follow
you
her on
can
social
email
media.
me at Angie Inglis at modernhearthealing.ca as well.
All right.
Angie Inglis at modernhearthealing.ca.
All right,
Yeah.
Brains. I need you to reach out and touch and grab hold. Okay. Thank you so much for being here, Angie, with us on the Edge. Brains,
Thank
love,
you so much for
like,
having me.
absolutely. Like, share, and subscribe to me and Angie. We're watching, we're looking for you all over the world. Thank you so much. And come back and see me soon. Okay.
Thank you, April.
All right. Bye, Brains. Have a good
Bye.
day.